Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something different for this channel because today I'm going to be doing a tier list on the Bachmann Thomas & Friends HO scale engine releases. We are not going to be covering rolling stock, narrow gauge engines, or roadway vehicles. That would make this video hours long because I would have endless things to say. In case we don't know what a tier list is basically a way of ranking items or ranking certain things on a scale of, instead of 1 to 10, using letters, S being the best. So without further ado, let's get started with the first engine. The first engine is going to be Edward. Now, Edward is one of Bachmann's best models in my opinion. The face is well done. When I had Edward in my collection, I really enjoyed him. He's not perfect as in an S tier, as in nothing could be different, it's the best, but he's definitely an A tier at the least. So moving on to Thomas, and Thomas, James, and Percy are going to be the first engines released by Bachmann, and because of that, I believe they are the ones that suffer the most. I cannot believe that Bachmann have not updated Thomas, Percy, and James's faces, considering the fact that the rest of the engine's faces, especially the ones they are releasing nowadays, are very accurate to what we see in the TV series. Thomas, Percy, and James also suffer from some coloring issues. For example, James's wheels are unpainted in the current version, I believe, and then Thomas's hooks next to his buffers are gray when they're supposed to be black, as well as Percy's. I'm going to give him a D, and now I say this because Thomas is probably the most modified out of the entire Bachmann Thomas & Friends engines when it comes to people having to change the model in order to make it more accurate. And so I feel like if you buy the base model of Thomas, most people, based off what I see online, are definitely not happy with it. Moving on to Bill and Ben. Now, Bill and Ben I have not had in my collection in person, but I have only seen good things about Bill and Ben. I haven't seen anyone complain about them, so I think they are worthy of A tier. And now we come to Diesel. And while Diesel is a pretty simple engine, he's just a Class OH shunter diesel. I really don't like the face, and I don't like the fact that they chose Diesel's happy face. I honestly don't like Diesel's CGI face to begin with. I feel like Diesel was one of the characters that was really hurt by the CGI switch up. And so I'm going to put Diesel in the C tier because besides his face, I don't think there's any issues with Diesel. And I've had him in my collection before in person and he runs very well. He's a very nice engine to watch go round. Donald and Douglas are going in the S tier. I love Donald and Douglas. I have Donald in my collection currently and I've had Douglas in the past. They are so clean and so fun to watch go around. So for sure an S tier. Their faces are fantastic. And now we come to Doug. Now I'm a bit biased when it comes to Doug, but he does suffer from coloring issues. As you can see, even in this picture here, his buffers are black when they're supposed to be red. And so simple things like that are just jarring in my opinion. And there is a pretty distinctive mold line when it comes to his boiler and his cab. So I'm going to give Doug a B tier. I don't think he's an A just because of the simple mistakes that are jarring when you look at him in person, but he's definitely not on the same level as C, as Diesel, because his face is absolutely spot on. Now we come to Gordon, and Gordon is another model that I have not had in my collection ever before, but I have not seen anything negative on Gordon online, and from the videos I watch, I really do enjoy the Bachmann Gordon model. I think he's very clean, but Gordon, as well as the original engines that Bachmann created, does suffer from coloring issues such as the hooks in between the buffers when they're supposed to be black. His are gray. So I think he is deserving of the same tier as Duck, which is the B tier. And now we come to Grumpy Face Diesel. And so already there's not much to say. It's just a different face. I think Bachmann realized that we do need an angry face Diesel. He's not an S tier. I think he'll go in the A tier. It's just whether or not you like the CGI portrayal of Diesel. Now we come to Bachmann Henry, and right away I love Bachmann Henry. I've actually had him in my collection. Henry is a very nice model to watch go around in person, but same thing as Gordon, some coloring issues, and so I'm going to put him in the B tier. Now you may think I'm being a bit harsh on the B tier here, but to get simple things wrong such as colors of hooks and buffers, it's just inexcusable in my opinion. And then we have Bachmann James. Now Bachmann James I've actually had more than once in my collection. Don't even ask, I buy and sell Bachmann a lot for some reason, but James suffers from the same problem as Thomas and the B tier, I just don't like the face and I don't like the coloring issues. On the James model that is currently for sale right now, I do believe his wheels are unpainted when they are supposed to be black, so James is going to go in the D tier. Now we come to Mavis. So I've not seen anything negative on Mavis online, so right away I'm going to put her in the A tier. And so we come to Bachmann Oliver. Now Bachmann Oliver, I feel like almost deserves an S tier, but what people have a problem with is the size of the wheels. And so I've actually had Bachmann Oliver in person and I really think he is a nice model, but because of the issue with the wheels, I'm just going to give him an A tier. And now we have Bachmann Percy and the first awful tier engine. As you can see in this picture, his face is not very good. His coal bunker is painted gray when it's supposed to be black. The hook on the front in between his buffers is gray when it's supposed to be black. If you were to see his lamp in person, you would see it's not very good and not very well shaped. I've actually had Percy in my collection before I sold him, and I really did think he was pretty bad. Probably Bachmann's worst model in my opinion, or Thomas is the worst model, or the original James. It really depends on what your mood is that day, but I do feel like out of the three, Percy is going to be the worst. He has a very obvious mold line going from his funnel all the way up to his whistle, and so he just looks very cheap in person. And now we come to Bachmann Toby, and right away I'm just going to put Toby in the C tier. Toby suffers the same problem as all of the other original engines. As you can see, his hook here is gray when it's supposed to be black, and from my experience of having Toby in my collection and from what I've seen online, Toby doesn't run very well. Toby is a very loud runner, and I also don't like that he doesn't have open cabs. So having Toby in person, he kind of feels cheap. His face also doesn't really impress me either. And now we come to Ari and Bert, introduced in season 5. Their faces don't blow me away. I don't like that they are happy. They definitely don't look like Ari and Bert from what we saw in season 5. So in my opinion, I'm going to have to put them in the C tier. And now we come to Bachmann Daisy. Now Bachmann Daisy was something fans were excited for a very long time. And when she finally released, the only problem that I saw that fans had with her was the coloring of her windows. And so because of that, I can't put her in the S tier, but I also can't put her in the B tier. Let's put her in the A tier. And so we come to Bachmann Emily, same case as Bill and Ben and Mavis. I have never had her in my collection, but I've also never seen anything negative about her online. And now we come to Bachmann Paxton, who I have actually had in my collection before, so right away I'm going to put him in the A tier. He's not on the same level as Donald and Douglas for me. And now we come to Bachmann Rosie. Right away I'm just going to do these two versions at once. I've actually had Bachmann Rosie in my collection before, and I do think Rosie is a very well done engine, and so I'm going to be putting her in the A tier. And now we come to Salty, who is coming back. I believe he's still available for pre-order on trainworld.com, but I haven't seen him on Bachmann's website, so hopefully he's still coming back. People have really wanted him back, so I feel like he's a good model for sure. I don't really know if people have any problems with him, but playing it safe from the eye test, he definitely doesn't have the same coloring issues as Duck, Gordon, and Henry. And now we come to Bachmann Spencer, who I've actually had in my collection before. I'm just not a big fan of his face personally, but there isn't any coloring issues or model issues from that I've seen, so I'm going to be putting him in the B tier. And so we've come to the last engine, Ryan. But I feel like Ryan really suffers from the fact that Bachmann makes these engines for a very wide range of people, whether it's very little kids or very experienced modelers. And what I mean by that is Ryan has lots of moldings on the sides of his boiler, and instead of them being separate from the boiler itself, they're actually molded on, just like a lot of the whistles of these engines. And so while it's added detail, it just shows that these engines sometimes can feel more like toys than we'd like. But I have only seen positive things and heard positive things about Ryan, so I'm going to be putting him in the A tier. And so that is it. I have covered all of the HO scale engine releases from the Bachmann Thomas & Friends line in this tier list. And maybe if I get more of these engines in my collection currently, I would change my mind about the rankings, but I feel like my mind is pretty set on most of these rankings, especially when it comes to the lower tiers. If anything, I would just move around a lot of the engines within the A tier. But at the end of the day, this is a tier list and it just comes down to my personal opinion. But let me know what you guys think about this list in the comments section below. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.